My name is Daryl, and this is my video out. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
okay.
You got it.
I'm originally from a small town outside Akron, Ohio. I was born in Panama, in the Canal Zone, where my mom's family's from. But I left when I was 6 weeks old, and then was raised in Ohio, where I graduated high school. Yeah. It was actually really wonderful, great childhood. I'm an only child, but there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood. I had some cousins that are close in age to me, and yeah, my house bordered a state park, so there were trees and lakes around. It was just fun to explore, and it was really, a nice childhood, so I can't complain. Oh gosh, I probably knew something was different as early as like when I was 6 or 7 years old. Just we had back then tape recorders, and so not like technology today, but then you would hear yourself back on it, and I just hated my voice, and it was just the way I talked, I thought was a little different than others. And then, later on as, puberty came about, I definitely think, I started feeling these, sensations that I was unfamiliar with and that no one else around me was experiencing as far as I knew. I think it was very isolating, but at the same time, there were so many other things to do. I think especially as early as middle school, just joining different clubs. In high school, joining the choir, go figure, joining the band, was on the tennis team. So I was definitely occupied a lot. And our school was such where we never had, it was a small school. I had 103 in my graduating class, and we didn't have like a locker room situation where I would feel uncomfortable or anything like that. So I was actually thankful for that. I never had to encounter those issues that so up front, I guess. So, but I think there were definitely other kids might have been going through it, but it was just something we didn't talk about. I do remember, I think, going to a library and seeing some ad, and just like a support group type ad, and I reached out to it, and it was far away because I was from the suburbs, and but I ended up taking my mom's car and meeting these folks downtown, which I rarely went downtown. Didn't tell my parents that I went downtown. So it was able to find connection to actually talk about those feelings for the first time. Yeah. I lived next door to my RA in college, and so we were physically very close to each other, and I would see him every day, and he was just very open and nice. He was from Smithtown, Long Island. I'll never forget that. And at the end of my freshman year, I finally worked up the courage to come out to him. He was graduating and leaving, so I wouldn't see him again necessarily. So I thought it was safe, and I definitely think he knew. But this was the early '90s, and it wasn't something that was just readily talked about. And but he very quickly put me at ease to say that this was not a big deal. This was, it's just who you are, and that, there's every reason to be happy. So that was very reassuring at the time. So many years had gone by, and my grandmother was still living, and so we thought she was holding strong. So we're like, I finally got to the point, I think it was in my early 30s, that I said, it's time to tell her. She knows. She knows something's up anyway. So she's from Panama, and she spoke with a thick accent, even though she lived in Staten Island her last 30 years. And she swore she was 5 feet tall, but she was really about 4'11". But that extra inch mattered to her apparently. So one day I was just visiting over the weekend and sitting on her plastic furniture, and there was something on TV on PBS, and I wasn't sure if I was going to come out to her, but it was a documentary on the gay men's chorus. I'm like, what are the odds that is on while I'm, talking to my grandmother? So after it ended, and she watched it with me very quietly, I just kind of muted the TV, and said, Grandma, I just want to talk to you about something. And I said to her, I didn't know how to approach it, and I went around this weird direction, I guess. And I told her, I said, I didn't want to get married to a woman. And she said, and like I said, at this point I was already in my 30s, and she said, that's fine, you don't have to get married to a woman. And I said, well, no, I do want to get married. And she just sat there for a minute, and I think she kind of didn't understand, and then she said, well, that's fine, I'll help you find a woman. I said, well, no, Grandma, I want to marry a guy. And she just leaned back in her chair, looked down, and said, I don't think I could help you with that. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. And I'm like, I'm not looking for you to be a matchmaker or anything. She just said, I love you no matter what. And and that was kind of that. And then she lived for another 15 years. It was just amazing to be out and open with her and never have to hide that. There's still so many that fear for their lives, either in this country or other countries. And I think the notion of being able to hold hands with somebody or kiss somebody in public, the very basic, what I think human rights are, just doesn't exist. And if someone were to exercise that, then there's a chance they may be killed or experience violence against them. So certainly I think there's, on that end of the spectrum, is very severe. I think in general, this country and this state and city are doing very well as it comes to LGBTQ issues. I think there is still a long ways to go. You can still be fired just for being gay. So there are certainly pressing issues and issues that are far deeper as well that still exist. What gives me the most hope is the numbers. I see more and more people every day coming out, talking about their experiences, or seeing themselves in some medium, be it social media, be it Netflix, Hulu, what have you. And I think when I was growing up, there were like 6 television channels or something. My parents did not have cable. And I remember staying up late past my bedtime to watch soap, and Billy Crystal played a gay character. And that was just like, and I had the TV on really low, so my parents didn't know I was still awake, and doing that. But now people can just pick up their phone and stream something and see themselves represented. We still have a long way to go in terms of really displaying the full representation of the LGBTQ community, but I'm happy that the resources are out there more and more. My favorite part about being me? Oh gosh, I've never been asked that. I think it's interesting. I've lived in New York for 21 years. My mom's side of the family, when they left Panama, most of them moved to New York. So I was familiar with the city for a long time, but I was raised in Ohio. So I still think I have this Midwest sensibility about me that has given me an edge in a way to be able to relate to people of all sorts, and also just being a gay man, and being able to empathize with various communities who may be minorities or marginalized. That's something I take pride in, and I think, long ago, many people experience when they first come out that they wish they could change it. They wish they could be someone else. They wish they could be straight or cisgender or whatnot. And now I look back on it and I'm like, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so happy to be part of this community, and it inspires me and continues to inspire me and move me in ways I didn't think possible when I was younger. So.
Well on
We've
our
come
way.
a long way, but we got a
Yeah.
lot more to go.
Yeah, well on our way.